Hey you guys, it's Peter and welcome to my channel, Peter Likes Books. And today, we're going to talk about the Reader's Bill of Rights. And I've kind of been working through them one by one. So if you have not seen my video where I talk about all of them together, or the last one that I did where I talked about the right to not finish a book, go back because I read through all of them and I'm not going to do it again in this video because it's becoming a little repetitive at this point. So anyway, today, the Reader's Bill of Rights that we are going to discuss is number 4, the right to reread. And I thought this was an interesting one to do, especially since I have been doing the videos recently where like books that I would never reread and books that I will reread and things like that. And it's interesting because now, let me fix my hair. Now, when I go over to my bookshelf, when I'm looking at books, it's like this question that keeps on coming through my head. Would you read this book? Would you reread this book? Would you not reread this book? It keeps on coming up over and over and over again. And I'm like looking at it, I'm like, oh, I don't know. I probably wouldn't reread that book. It's so interesting to me because I have watched so many booktubers that will talk about like, oh, like I've reread this book 4 times and it's a book like Shatter Me or something like that, you know, or Six of Crows. And I'm like, okay, I understand like wanting to read a book like Wuthering Heights like 3 or 4 times, maybe, or like The Sound and the Fury, or Harry Potter, or something like that. But why those books? Like, because, I don't know, it's just like, I even have favorite pop culture kind of books that I wouldn't necessarily consider literary fiction, or that have some great meaning to the world that I love, but I don't know that I would reread them over and over and over again, you know what I mean? But then the question is, why not? If you enjoyed it so much the first time, why wouldn't you reread it again? And so I was kind of asking myself this question because I was like, okay, is your opinion changing on this? Because at first I would watch these videos, I just didn't understand it. I just did not understand why people would reread a book that they already knew what was going to happen in unless it had some profound meaning to their life. Like, I just was completely baffled by this, right? And then I started thinking about books that were more like, didn't have a profound effect on me, but that I really, really loved nonetheless. Like Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe. That's a good example. Would I reread that book? Absolutely. And I absolutely loved the way that I felt reading that book, okay? The Upside of Unrequited by Becky Albertalli, which I read last year. Would I reread that book? Absolutely. I loved the way that that book made me feel. It doesn't matter that I'm not surprised by the things that had happened, that I already know what's going to happen in that book. I just loved everything about that book. You know what I mean? So to re-experience it again, yeah, I would read it. And as I started thinking about that, the one thing that keeps me from not rereading or from rereading books is that there are so many books that I want to read that when I look over there on my bookshelf and I have, you know, 300 books over there, 30 books down here, 10 books in my kitchen, and 100 books that I want to buy that I don't own, then it's like, well, why would I reread a book when I have all these books that I want to experience and read that I haven't? So I don't know. For me, it's like this very interesting question, you know, like, but I'm thinking about like wanting to reread some books. And these are the kind of books that I want to reread as I go forward. I'm thinking about rereading books that I read at one point that were very much my favorites to see like why those books are favorites of mine today. And let me tell you what some of those are, okay? Years and years and years ago, I read this book called Replay by Ken Grimwood, and it was about this guy, and he like dies in the first chapter, and then it's him reliving his life over and over and over again. And it just, I loved the book so much. It was considered science fiction, and it was such a cool book that I remember I recommended it to everybody at the time. Recently, I got on Thrift Books, and I bought a copy of it, which is right over there. So I'm thinking about rereading that. I'm going to reread Speed Queen, which is about a woman that's on death row for supposedly killing her boyfriend, and it's all about methamphetamine addiction, and it really is like, has no great learning experience to it except for like, I don't know, the perils of drugs, but it's more of a character study. I loved the book. I'm going to reread it, you know? Linda Berry, the cartoonist, wrote Cruddy, which somebody just sent to me and I did in a book haul, and it's more of like a character study, you know, autobiography, but like, autobiography, no, I mean, it's a fictional character. But anyway, and I'm gonna reread that, you know? There's a lot of books that I think that I could reread. She's Come Undone by Wally Lamb changed my life, and yet I've never read it again. Ferris Beach by Jill McCorkle is one of my all-time favorite books, and yet I never talk about it, and I haven't reread it since I read it for the very first time when I was 19 years old, you know? Some of my favorite classics, you know, like The Sun Also Rises and Garden of Eden by Hemingway, or, you know, Tender as the Night by F. Scott Fitzgerald. When I read those books, I was at such like a growing period in my life. Like, I was also drinking a lot because I've been sober since I was 23, and I would drink a lot while I read those books, Somerset Maugham books, and you know, all that, Gertrude Stein, and that whole expatriate area. It would be interesting to read those books today, not being a person that's drinking. And so I've been thinking a lot about that recently, and like, you know, what I want to do with that moving forward, and do I want to reread some of these books? So I guess, you know, the fact that one of our Reader's Bill of Rights is that you can reread a book when you want to. I mean, obviously, the thing I love about these Reader's Bill of Rights is that they're so obvious. It's like, well, yeah, of course, like, reread what you want. You can finish a book. You don't have to finish a book if you don't want to. Skip a page. But I think there are things that we feel inside, like, why would you, or why should you, or why can't you? And I have to be honest that one of the things that's kept me from rereading books is this kind of like this pull inside of me, like, yes, but don't, when there's other books that are around that you could read. And that's that kind of thing inside of me where I need someone to say, you can reread a book. It's okay, Peter. You can reread a book and enjoy it. And so if you've watched my other video that I did the other day, I'm going to do a VC Andrews like read along starting in April. And I've read My Sweet Audrina. I've read, you know, Heaven, that book. I haven't read the whole series. And so I'm excited to read those again and see if like they have the same impact on me, or if I remember them the same way, or whatever, you know, like I'm really excited about that. So I am going to start rereading some books, and I am going to count them as books read on my Goodreads. So that's the other thing. It's like, I'm like, God, if I reread this book, I did this with Perks of Being a Wallflower last year, okay? I started it, I was going to reread it, and then I was like, but I already have it marked down as read on my Goodreads, so if I read it, that doesn't count as a book that I've read for this year. That is so corny, but that's how serious I take my Goodreads challenge, which I never meet anyway, so it's like, why do you care, Peter, you know? Anyway, I'd like to know what you guys think about rereading books. I know I've done 2 videos now. This is my 3rd one, and I swear my final one, unless some huge drama in the world occurs about rereading a book, which that's not gonna happen. But what do you guys think about rereading books? And if you do reread books, tell me why and what your favorite book is that you reread down below. And I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.